The Buffalo Bills hit the field looking to bounce back, but what we got instead was a flat, disjointed performance against a Falcons team that came ready to punch them in the mouth. And from the opening snap, it was clear Atlanta had a plan. Buffalo? Not so much. This one stung, not just because of the scoreboard, but because of how unprepared and overwhelmed this offense looked against a Falcons defense that, let's be honest, didn't even try to hide what they were going to do. Let's talk about the passing game, because that's where this train really derailed. Josh Allen threw for 180 yards on just 15 completions, 2 touchdowns, but also 2 ugly interceptions. More importantly, he was under duress constantly, pressured on over half of his dropbacks. That's not just a bad stat. That's a flashing red light screaming something is broken. The Falcons blitzed on 60% of the time. You knew it was coming. You had to know it was coming. This wasn't a surprise. This was Atlanta being who they've been all season, aggressive, fast, and relentless with pressure. But the Bills looked like they walked into that stadium blindfolded. Allen was sacked 4 times. 2 of those were on him, hanging onto the ball too long or drifting into pressure. But even when the protection held up, things looked off. You saw Allen locking into reads, passing up open throws, making strange decisions like scrambling from clean pockets or deciding to take off before the play had even developed. That's not the version of Josh Allen we're used to. That's a quarterback who's rattled, and not just by the rush, by the lack of answers around him. And the offensive coordinator, Joe Brady? Man, this one's on him just as much. You had to be ready for pressure. Everyone knew Atlanta was going to blitz. Everyone. Yet the Bills' offense looked like it had 0 contingency plans. No quick game. No hot reads that were consistently working. No rhythm. When you're facing blitz after blitz and still can't figure out where the quick outlet is, something is seriously wrong with the way you're scheming this thing. Sometimes it was the protection plan that fell apart. Sometimes Josh Allen didn't get the ball out. And sometimes, and this is the most frustrating one, there just weren't even any answers designed into the play. If you're asking a quarterback to solve that much pressure with no help from the play call, you're setting him up to fail. And let's talk about the obsession with Keon Coleman in these man coverage one-on-ones. What are we doing here? Over and over, Buffalo keeps dialing up isolation routes to Coleman like he's going to win on a slant or take the top off a defense. But here's the thing. He's not that kind of receiver. He's not uncovering with consistency. You want to use Keon Coleman? Great. Scheme him open. Let him work the middle off play action. Use his frame and ball skills when the play breaks down. But these jump balls on the sideline against top corners, they're wasted plays. They're drive killers. And yet, they keep going back to it like it's going to magically start working. It feels like this offense is being called like it's a lab experiment. Like they've got a checklist of concepts they want to try, instead of adapting to what the defense is doing. You're playing a team that's blitzing its brains out, and instead of pounding them with the run or dialing up quick hitters or using motion to create mismatches, you're just rolling out your favorite plays. No situational awareness. No feel. Now let's shift to something that actually worked, the run game. When Buffalo decided to run, they ran well. They averaged over 5.5 yards per carry. They had success rates among the best in the league for the week. They went with gap schemes, especially from under center, and they were moving people off the ball. James Cook was efficient. When they leaned into the power run game, especially out of heavier personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends, it worked. It opened up play action. It helped take the heat off Allen. But for some reason, they didn't stick with it. This game begged for a heavy James Cook day, especially with key weapons missing in the passing game. But the rotation? Head-scratching. Ty Johnson played almost as many snaps as Cook, and it's clear the reason was pass protection. He's the better blocker. But here's the thing. James Cook doesn't need to be a pass protector every down. You can motion him into the slot. You can use him on quick routes. You can scheme around his weaknesses and lean into his strengths. Instead, he gets phased out because of the pressure game, and that's a mistake. That's poor coaching. That's failing to recognize that your most explosive playmaker, outside of Josh Allen, needs touches. He needs volume. Ray Davis, by the way, had 2 snaps. And what did he do with them? Caught a first down and scored a touchdown. 2 plays. Maximum impact. You want to talk about missed opportunities? There it is. You had the juice. You had the ability to control this game with a ground attack and never committed to it. Instead, you forced the ball to a rattled quarterback behind a leaking offensive line with pressure flying at him from every angle and told him to figure it out. And when things did go wrong, it wasn't just the calls, it was execution too. Missed throws, missed opportunities, short circuits. There were plays where Allen had guys open and simply didn't pull the trigger. Other times, the throw was off. Other times, nobody was open. But here's the truth. It wasn't always one thing. It was a little bit of everything, all compounding. That's when you know it's a systemic failure. People love to say nobody's open when the passing game sputters. But if you actually watch the film, you'll see that's just not true. Sure, the Bills don't have elite separators. That's a fact. But to say nobody's ever open is just lazy. Guys were open. The design got them open. The quarterback didn't see it. Or the timing wasn't right. Or the protection didn't hold. It's all connected. When one piece breaks, the whole thing suffers. So yes, Josh Allen deserves criticism. This was one of the 10 worst passing performances of his career from an EPA perspective. That's a real stat. But he's not the only one who failed. Joe Brady failed. The offensive line failed. The receivers failed. The game plan failed. It was a complete meltdown. And what makes it worse is that this isn't the first time. You saw similar problems against New England. You saw a team that didn't look like it had answers. And that's the part that should worry you. Not just that the offense played poorly, but that they looked unprepared, unaware, like they didn't even study for the test. And in the NFL, when you're not ready for pressure, when you don't have answers, when you refuse to adjust, you get exposed. And that's exactly what happened against the Falcons. Now let's dive into what was happening on the other side of the ball. Because while the defense opened this game by getting punched in the mouth, they actually managed to settle in and give the Bills a fighting chance. Unfortunately, the offense never returned the favor. The first 4 drives for Atlanta were brutal. 3 touchdowns, 1 punt. At that point, it looked like the Bills were about to get blown out of their own building. But then something shifted. The defensive staff made adjustments, the players tightened things up, and from that moment on, the unit allowed just 3 more points. That kind of turnaround doesn't happen by accident. It was a mix of scheme changes, better execution, and pure fight. In the first half, the coverage philosophy was killing the Bills. They were relying on spot drop zone, basically a defensive approach where players drop to predetermined landmarks on the field rather than reacting in real time to what the offense is doing. And when you do that without top-tier instincts or spatial awareness, you just end up covering grass. That's exactly what happened. Falcons receivers had tons of space to work with. It looked like pitch and catch out there. The linebackers and safeties were getting dragged out of their zones with motion. The corners weren't driving on routes, and nobody was making plays on the football. But in the second half, the Bills flipped the script. They leaned into more man coverage and went with a single high safety look more often. They took away the easy completions. They challenged the Falcons to beat them with tight throws, and Desmond Ridder couldn't do it. Suddenly, the pressure started getting home, windows tightened up, and Atlanta stalled. It was night and day from what we saw early on. It's frustrating because you wonder, what if they had just started the game this way? There were still some absolute backbreakers, though. The most damaging defensive play of the second half came late in the fourth quarter, with the Bills trailing by just 1 score. Atlanta had the ball in a crucial spot, and on 2nd and 9, they hit Bijan Robinson for a 23-yard gain. That one play flipped the field and basically sealed it. The coverage call was a cover 3 seam. Tre'Davious White was supposed to stay deep and let Taylor Rapp carry the vertical route, but instead he squeezed on the seam and left Bijan wide open in the flat. Mental mistake. Big one. And it cost them. Then there's the run defense. And man, it was a mess. Atlanta rushed for over 200 yards, averaging more than 6 yards per carry. They gashed the Bills multiple times with explosive runs, including an 81-yard touchdown that felt like a dagger. That play unraveled fast. On the snap, Joey Bosa actually got a sack, or should have. But Ed Oliver had jumped off sides, wiping it out. Next play, boom, Bijan gone. The breakdown started with linebacker Terrell Bernard, who was late to read the play and took the wrong angle into his gap. He gave up leverage, and once Bijan hit that crease, it was over. Safety Cole Bishop came downhill with a poor angle, and cornerback Jamarcus Ingram, instead of slowing the runner or shedding his block, just kind of jogged into traffic and let Bijan hit full speed. That's not winning football. And Ingram? He had a rough day. The coaching staff gave him some snaps at outside corner, but that experiment didn't go well. Not only did he miss on the big Bijan run, but right before halftime, he gave up a near touchdown to Drake London that could have been catastrophic. The Bills were in man coverage, and for some reason, Ingram was asked to cover London one-on-one, which is a wild mismatch. He gave too much cushion, opened up his hips too early, and then fell all over himself trying to close. London was tackled just short of the goal line, but it was a glaring mistake. If you're still wondering whether Ingram should be taking snaps from Trey White, that should answer it. Speaking of missed tackles, the defense had a staggering 19 of them. That's not a typo. 19 missed tackles. 7 of those came from the safeties. Taylor Rapp had 4 alone. Cole Bishop had 3. Christian Benford, usually one of the most reliable tacklers on the team, missed 3 on his own, which is more than he had missed all season. It was uncharacteristic and costly. Dorian Williams missed a couple. Even guys like Joey Bosa and A.J. Epineza missed tackles. It's hard to win when you're giving away yards like that. Still, not everything was doom and gloom. Some players stepped up in a big way. Greg Rousseau had arguably his best performance of the season. On the one early stop the defense managed in the first half, Rousseau made all 3 plays to force a 3-and-out. He followed that up with a blocked field goal and continued to collapse the pocket all game long. It's obvious now that he was playing hurt earlier in the year. He's healthy, and he's wrecking people again. Deion Walker, the rookie defensive tackle, also stood out. He played 56 snaps and was everywhere, racking up tackles for loss, pushing the pocket, and showing really good awareness for a young interior lineman. With Daquan Jones sidelined, the Bills needed someone to step up in the middle, and Walker answered the call. The linebackers were a mixed bag. Shaq Thompson played the majority of the snaps and continued to be one of the most consistent players on the field. Terrell Bernard, on the other hand, had that brutal mistake on the long touchdown run and looked tentative on several snaps. Dorian Williams, who had a rough game against New Orleans, actually bounced back nicely in this one. He still missed a couple of tackles, but he looked faster, more decisive, and did a better job navigating through traffic. The safety rotation was another talking point. Taylor Rapp played almost every snap and struggled. Jordan Poyer, despite only seeing the field for 18 plays, showed more in that limited time than Rapp did all game. He filled the run well, played with better angles, and looked more comfortable in the defense. The coaching staff has to seriously consider getting Poyer more reps after the bye week. They need a steadier presence back there. The missed tackles and blown coverages from Rapp are starting to become a trend. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. The streets of Buffalo are buzzing with whispers that could shake the very core of the Bills locker room. According to sources close to the team, head coach Sean McDermott has allegedly drawn a hard line in the sand, telling staff behind closed doors that a certain unnamed player won't play for me again. While no one has gone on record to confirm who the player in question is, insiders suggest the rift may have been brewing for weeks, perhaps even months. Tension reportedly erupted after a heated exchange during last Sunday's game, when cameras caught McDermott in an animated discussion on the sideline with one of his key players. Since then, speculation has run wild across social media and local sports radio. Theories range from locker room disagreements to issues surrounding effort, leadership, or even personal conduct. McDermott, known for his disciplined, team-first culture, has rarely shown open frustration with his players. His reputation for keeping internal matters private makes this rumored statement all the more explosive. If Sean actually said that, it's serious, one former Bills staffer told a local outlet. He doesn't throw words around like that. It means trust has been broken. Some fans have rushed to defend the coach, arguing that his firm stance is part of what keeps the team competitive. Others worry the alleged fallout could divide the locker room at a critical point in the season. We've seen this before, a longtime Bills observer noted. A spark turns into a storm, and suddenly the chemistry's gone. As of now, neither McDermott nor the Bills organization has issued any official comment. The player in question participated in team activities earlier this week, but was notably absent from Wednesday's practice, fueling even more speculation. Whether this rumor is smoke or fire remains to be seen, but one thing is clear: something's brewing in Buffalo. And if the coach truly meant what he said, the Bills could be on the brink of one of the most dramatic internal shakeups of the McDermott era. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.